Welcome to QA Confidential, where the bugs don't just slip through the cracks, they throw a party in your production environment. Today's episode features our fearless test leader, Joe, who's about to take on the ultimate challenge, the minimum viable test. You've heard of minimum viable products, right? The kind of half-baked nonsense they ship out just to see what breaks? Yeah, this one's gonna be fun. The QA Dungeon, where dreams of bug-free software go to die. Today, Joe's got a special treat. The developers have cooked up a minimum viable product, which is basically a fancy way of saying, we didn't finish, but here you go. Naturally, they want QA's blessing.
All right, folks, gather round. The devs have cooked up something new, and they want us to give it the green light. But here's the kicker. They're calling it an MVP. You know what that means. Minimal tests, maximum risk.
Joe, are we really supposed to sign off on this?
That's the idea, Ariel. They ship fast, and we scramble to keep up. But hey, it's our job to catch as much as we can before it hits production. So let's roll up our sleeves and see what we're dealing with.
And so the QA team dives into the MVP, which, let's be honest, is probably more minimal than viable. But hey, when life hands you lemons, you squeeze out every drop and sell it at a premium. The developer's den, where big dreams meet tight deadlines and reality is optional. Joe's here to get the lowdown on this MVP from Gabe, the lead developer, who seems to think testing is just another word for optional. This should be good.
Hey, Gabe, we got the word on the MVP. Just want to know, what are we actually testing here? I'm guessing it's more minimum than viable, right?
Joe, it's solid. We trimmed the fat, but the core features are all there. Just run your basic tests. We're shipping this out in 48 hours, so no need to go overboard.
Basic tests? You know how that goes, right? One small bug in the core and it's game over. What about edge cases? Load testing? You can't just gloss over those.
Look, Joe, I get it. But we don't have the luxury of time. We launch as planned. Do the best you can with what you've got. This thing is going live whether we like it or not.
Well, there you have it. Gabe's solution to everything. Do your best and hope for the best. If that doesn't fill you with confidence, nothing will. Now, Joe and the team have 48 hours to make this MVP look less like a train wreck and more like, well, a slightly smaller train wreck. The War Room, where QA dreams of stability while the clock ticks down to disaster. Joe and his team are in full scramble mode, trying to patch this sinking ship before it goes live. Good luck with that.
Joe, look at this. The login module's failing under load, and we haven't even stress tested it yet. If this goes live, users are gonna get locked out.
Great. That's exactly the kind of thing Gabe thinks users will forgive. Document it, but let's keep moving. We need to prioritize. Anything that could be a showstopper goes to the top of the list.
There's more. Payment gateway's timing out. We can't launch with this. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Okay, let's escalate these. I'll talk to Gabe again. If he's smart, he'll delay the launch. If not, well, we'll be the ones cleaning up the mess.
Time's running out and the bugs are piling up. Joe's got his hands full trying to make this MVP look like it's ready for prime time. But with Gabe pushing for launch, they might be headed for a crash that's going to need more than a few patches to fix. Back in the developer's den, the pressure's mounting. Gabe's got his deadline and Joe's got a list of bugs longer than a week-old sprint meeting. Something's got to give.
Gabe, we've got some serious issues here. Login failures, payment timeouts. It's not ready. If we launch like this, it's not just going to be rough around the edges. It's going to be a full-blown disaster.
Look, Joe, I get it. But we don't have time for a full QA cycle. We need to launch, get feedback, and iterate. That's how we stay competitive.
Competitive doesn't mean reckless. Users won't give feedback if they can't log in, and they definitely won't stick around if they can't pay. We need at least another week to stabilize this. Otherwise, we're just setting ourselves up to fail.
Joe, we're out of time. We launch as planned. Do the best you can with what we've got. This thing's going live, and that's final.
Out of time and out of options, Joe and Ariel head to the last place anyone with sanity would go, Dr. Wolfgang's lab. They say desperate times call for desperate measures. And trust me, Wolfgang is about as desperate as it gets. Joe knocks on the door. It creaks open slowly, revealing a room filled with bubbling beakers, sparking wires, and strange contraptions.
Ja, just a few more volts und they will be alive. Ah, mein lieben Testers, what brings you to my laboratory? Have you finally decided to embrace the power of electroneural testing?
Not today, Doc. We're here because we've got a situation with the MVP. It's full of bugs, and we need some of your unconventional wisdom.
Yeah, we've got login failures, payment timeouts. It's a mess. We were hoping you might have some ideas.
Ah, the MVP, the minimum viable problem, as I like to call it. You see, this is where the fun begins, yeah? The developers, they create the masterpiece, and they forget that masterpieces are fragile, like the fine porcelain.
He rushes over to a giant switch on the wall and flips it. Sparks fly, and a strange humming noise fills the room. A large, old-fashioned machine with flashing lights and spinning discs comes to life.
We will subject this MVP to the ultimate test, the Wolfgang protocol. We will overload it, stress it, and see where it cracks. Only then will we know how to fix it, yeah?
Ariel, this is what I meant by unconventional. But hey, the guy's a genius, and if anyone can break this thing in ways we haven't thought of, it's him.
Doc, are you sure this is safe? I mean, it looks like something out of a horror movie in here.
Safe? There's the fun in that. But do not worry, mein young apprentice. The Wolfgang protocol is perfectly, mostly, probably safe. Now, watch as we push this MVP to its limits.
Doc? What's happening?
Bah, this is nothing. Just the MVP having a little existential crisis. It's good. It means we're getting close to the truth. Yeah, we have done it. The MVP has shown us its true face. Look here, the login failure is not just a bug, it's a race condition. And the payment timeout? A resource deadlock. You see, the MVP is like a puzzle, and we have just found the missing pieces.
Thanks, Doc. You're a lifesaver. We'll take this back to the devs and get them to fix it before launch.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Wolfgang. And maybe next time we'll stick to, regular testing methods.
Bah, regular is for the boring. Remember, my friends, sometimes you have to break the system to understand it. Now go, and good luck with your minimum viable problem.
And that's Dr. Wolfgang, mad scientist genius, and apparently QA's last hope. Now it's up to Joe and Ariel to turn his insanity into something the devs can work with. With launch looming and the clock ticking, Joe and the team got their work cut out for them. Until next time, remember, a little more testing today means a lot less firefighting tomorrow.